Are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. I'm the Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine saw you from across the bar, and they like your vibe. It doesn't matter if you haven't enjoyed the MCU since Avengers Endgame pushed the stakes of the franchise off a cliff, or if you're cautiously optimistic about the rest of the multiverse saga. Come for Deadpool and Wolverine's blockbuster chemistry, but stay for the frankness with which they comment on the past, present, and future of Marvel Studios.
The Marvel Universe is about to change forever.
It's a good thing that they do, too. The MCU has been bloated and unfocused for years now, and it's about time someone let the air out and had some fun with it. In that way, Deadpool and Wolverine is a perfectly timed and well-sustained cinematic fart, released with confidence and comfort in the space it creates for future nourishment. It's not going to single-handedly save the MCU from the larger bout of indigestion it's suffering through, but it's a refreshing mea culpa that demonstrates that Marvel can still let her rip loud and proud when it really counts.
What you thinking about?
Get the off of me. Shh. Almost done.
Almost done what?
Getting my knife out of your buttocks, you Get your mind out of my pants!
The Sean Levy-directed superhero comedy gets off to a roaring start, with Deadpool riffing on the action before the Marvel Studios fanfare is even finished, and running afoul of the Time Variance Authority from Loki almost immediately.
Let's go!
There's an electricity to the opening act. After all, this is Deadpool's first time in the MCU, and like a comfortably inebriated cousin giggling into your ear after Thanksgiving dinner, there's no sure way to know what weird, hilarious nonsense will spill out of his mouth.
I am soaking wet right now.
Or how hard it will make your aunt clutch her pearls. With a decade plus of Marvel Studios storytelling and marketing to skewer, Ryan Reynolds is off to the races with jokes aimed at every corner of the sacred timeline.
All right, finally aged.
Reynolds' command of Wade Wilson's whipping wit is razor sharp as ever, and applying it to the current state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's able to bring the self-important franchise back down to earth. You could practically see Reynolds slamming a binder full of Feige-focused jokes onto a table and recording every single one.
Cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
The self-referential material is unpredictable and incisive. Enough at first to make this the most dangerous the MCU has felt since there were 6 Infinity Stones on the board. One of the biggest questions going into Deadpool and Wolverine was whether the MCU's first R rating would be enough to sustain the filthy, subversive tone that set the Merc with a Mouth apart in the first place.
That does it! Put your hands behind your knees and get down on your head now!
That disgusting, irradiated heart is still very much intact. And if the idea of Wade and Logan trading curses every 10 seconds is all it will take to get you into theaters, rest assured you will leave well f***ing fed.
Let's go.
But I can't look Mr. Poole in his horrifying melty face and lie to him and tell him that I didn't detect some pulled punches. Some jokes that walk right up to the line of being truly fearless and surprising, only for them to double back or change the subject quickly. With all the big laughs and self-deprecation in play, it's hard to begrudge the filmmakers for sanding off some of the characters' harder edges, but it's still a little disappointing that Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't try to top some of DP's more heinous on-screen acts.
Holy mommy f***ing shit!
Speaking of, we don't make it more than 10 minutes into Deadpool and Wolverine before Wade gleefully desecrates our memories of Logan.
Shut the up.
Oh my god.
Both the character and James Mangold's 2017 film. It's another tightrope Deadpool and Wolverine has to walk. Logan is still correctly regarded as a high point of superhero cinema. And even though audiences are more or less used to the idea of variance now, bringing Hugh Jackman back in all of his clawed costume glory still runs the risk of feeling tacky after his previous borderline perfect farewell to the X-Men. But Jackman, an actor known for his great showmanship and ability to Wolverine really good, threads the needle of a post-Logan return to the role, clearly relishing every F-bomb and flash of berserker rage. There's undoubtedly some cognitive dissonance at first, as the movie asks the audience to map decades of goodwill onto a variant we're meeting for the first time, sort of like Loki did in season 1. But in the end, this movie's Wolverine has all of the reluctant heroism and self-loathing you'd expect from any depiction of Logan, and the redemption he's after is personal enough that these sticking points feel less distracting as the movie goes on. But Deadpool and Wolverine does remind us that nothing, timeline aside, is sacred, and playing fast and loose with the rules is the name of the game.
I have no idea how to save it alone, but you know how to save him.
In the years since the abysmal X-Men Origins Wolverine, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have been road testing their chemistry on social media, and Deadpool and Wolverine proves their catty one-upmanship can sustain a feature-length adventure with ease.
Deadpool and Wolverine, a team. Shake on it.
There's a trust and ease between the stars that puts their banter head and shoulders above most of their MCU contemporaries. Again, years and years of de facto rehearsal and an R rating give them a lot of leeway here. As a buddy comedy, Deadpool and Wolverine is rock solid, but it falls prey to the perfunctory plotting that has plagued other recent Marvel movies. It grinds to a halt anytime there's exposition to attend to, and while Deadpool sure does like to joke about that fact in real time, clunky plot junk still hits the ear like clunky plot junk. Much of that exposition gets dumped in the lap of the TVA's Mr. Paradox, the timeline cop who eventually enlists Deadpool's help. But Paradox's influence on the events after his initial encounters with Deadpool is pretty limited, and the movie largely moves past him after the first act. The incomprehensible plot is not helped by Deadpool and Wolverine's bland primary setting. The Void, a trash heap at the end of time introduced in Disney Plus's Loki series. The nondescript, bleak terrain makes the already thin stakes even harder to hang on to as the movie goes. We're regularly reminded of the reality and the family that Deadpool is trying to save, and yet our only connection to them are the Polaroid that Wade flashes the few times the story calls for him to be earnest. It's also in the Void where the mysterious Cassandra Nova holds court, driven by off-the-shelf villain motivations that feel totally mismatched to her erratic, impish nature. Deadpool and Wolverine benefit from years of audience goodwill with connections to worlds and characters that give them an emotional leg up. But as a creature of the Void with nearly no link to anything or anyone, Cassandra, and by extension actor Emma Corrin, ends up totally swept away by more familiar characters. Deadpool and Wolverine's boring but budget-friendly wasteland does at least open events up to promised cameos and variants in a way that, for all of Deadpool's undercutting, actually treats the fabric of the MCU's internal reality with some level of respect. A marauding group of veteran Fox mutants like Pyro and Sabretooth open the door to even more surprise appearances, which range in significance and utility from "my brain recognizes that character and I like that my brain recognizes that character," all the way down to "holy crap, we've now closed the loop on one of the superhero subgenre's greatest missed opportunities." Deadpool and Wolverine's self-awareness is most effective when it's honoring the pillars on which the MCU is built, namely Fox's work to build superhero franchises at the turn of the 21st century. Deadpool and Wolverine converses with that history thoughtfully and with more tenderness than you might expect.
Stop it.
Deadpool and Wolverine is an outrageous, consistently funny superhero comedy that succeeds largely thanks to the contagious enthusiasm of leads Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and a surprisingly classy perspective on superhero movie history. Wade and Logan's profanity-laced adventure forces the MCU farther out of its comfort zone than it's been in years, even though old and increasingly frustrating issues like forgettable villains and a barely there plot show that breaking the fourth wall isn't always enough to solve a movie's foundational problems. Score. Oh, you guys would have been really mad if I forgot that. I keep it down here in the bucket. I haven't wanted anyone to see it until now, so that's why it's in the bucket. So, you know, here. Come on. Come on, cough. There it is. Yep. Score. It's here. Thanks for watching. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Twisters and A Quiet Place Day 1. And for everything else, you're already in the right place. IGN.